to Itali-Echo, Boston's only Italian-American show. This is your host, Viviana Dragani, and this is WNTN 1550 AM radio. Today, our guest is Christopher Ancona. Hi, Christopher. How are you doing?
Hello, Vivian. I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, thank you. So, your last name sounds Italian. Tell us about your origins.
Yeah. So my father is actually Italian. So I'm dual nationality, Italian American, and yeah, my family is originally way back in the beginning of the 1900s. Comes from Erice in Sicily. So, and then we have a long family story about how it's connected to Ancona actually, but that goes back some hundreds of years.
Okay. So, can you tell us how you came to the concepts in the alignment quotient and why you decided to write a book?
Yeah, sure. Speaking of being from Italy, I have Italian father and a Polish mother, and I grew up I'm from Detroit originally, and I'd say we always had really good food, so I was the fat kid, and my dad was kind of rough on me. Um, as I grew up, my dad and I really didn't get along very well. I was a little fat kid. I still love food, so that's just reality. But when my parents finally got divorced, I'd the abuse actually made it so that I lived with my grandmother growing up, and I spent most of my teen years fighting against everything my dad said I couldn't do. So I did all this other stuff. I took on sports. I lost a lot of weight. I became kind of like a mechanical guy. Originally, I'd wanted to be a priest. It's a really weird thing. Most kids want to be like a fireman or a policeman or something like that. I was Catholic. I wanted to be a priest. But I took on all this other stuff instead just to prove my dad wrong. And I'd eventually graduated from the University of Michigan with an engineering degree. And right after graduation, I moved to Italy. And I lived in Pinerolo, which is just
Oh,
outside of Torino.
yeah,
It's a
Torino.
beautiful.
It's my hometown.
I love. Oh man, Piemonte's food. Oh,
Oh,
it's.
yeah. Hazelnuts. Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's actually a restaurant there that had 69 different antipasties. I could just
Wow.
engorge myself.
I
But
know.
yeah, but living in Piemonte, living in Italy, being surrounded by Italians, I just kind of realized there was a lot of other things to life that I just hadn't prioritized, I guess. And when I got back from Italy, I lived there for about a year and a half. When I got back from Italy, I realized I'd changed a lot, and I'd understood now that I'd been living my life the way that my dad thought I couldn't, rather than building it based upon what I wanted. And I'd set out in these concepts that have come out in the Alignment Quotient book and course, which is starting with a foundation of who you are, and then kind of going forward from that. And so I'd spent about 10 years practicing it and building the ideas. And then I was really lucky. I'd been able to work all over the world. So I've run projects in 12 countries. I've taught in 4 countries. I've done a lot of different things. And in 2011, I went to this crazy MBA in Italy from the University of Iowa. And I lived in Asolo, which is outside of Venice, right at the base of the Dolomites. And if any of your viewers like paragliding or parasailing, then Padernal del Grappa, which is right there, is an amazing place to do that. And so I lived right there. And this school gave me access to like neuroscientists and social psychologists. And after graduation, I stayed on for 5 years. And I had access to these amazing professors, and I ran their leadership program and helped build it up. And I was able to kind of figure out all the stuff that I'd practiced and learned in alignment that was from a philosophical perspective, what the scientific underpinnings were. And in 2018, my grandma who raised me, she was diagnosed with a multiple terminal illnesses, and I kind of dropped everything, and I flew back and I took care of her until she died. And my sister was on the day shift and I was on night shift. And I'd kind of realized that, wow, I've missed some of the things I think my grandma had hoped that I would do. I did all this other cool stuff, but I hadn't really, let's say I could have done more. And I thought this book was a way to kind of honor her sacrifice. And so when she would sleep at night, I started writing. And after she passed, I finished the book, and then I decided to turn it into an online course, which was meant to help people to live from a foundation that was based on themselves, that they created, and not to kind of get stuck like I did as a kid and miss out, and also have regrets, because there's a lot of ways to regrets if you're doing kind of the way that I had done things originally.
Thank you. Nice story. So, can you tell us what you mean by the alignment quotient?
Yeah, it's a pretty simple concept, but really hard to execute. It's that you can live with integrity with who you are, which I call being with purpose, despite the situation or circumstances, or even your own thoughts and emotions.
Okay, okay. And what do you mean by being?
Yeah, so this is kind of it's a very philosophical concept, and I actually dedicate in the book like a whole part of the book just on that. And in the online course, I also have like 2 whole lessons just on getting to the building of that. So I think maybe the easy way to explain it for your listeners is to look at how we tend to live, which is we think, okay, I have to have something, like I have to have a fancy job, or I have to have a family. I have to have this thing so that I can do something, maybe travel the world, or maybe like, like take care of a family, put my kids in good schools or whatever, so that I can be somebody. And maybe that being is freedom or love or being worthy. And it's the being that we really want, but we start with a having, and that having can always be taken away, can always lose it. Or your house can burn down, your spouse can divorce you, you can lose the job, your bank account can go away. Like there's a lot of ways the having can be destroyed. And then you don't lose the have, you actually lose who you were. And so the concept of starting with being is starting with that end part, because that's what you want anyways, right? And then building from there. So then doing what there is to do based on who you are. And then you have a result.
Wow. Can you give us more examples?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can give you one from this morning. My son, I'm a father of a 4-year-old son, and he's a firecracker. And he wears this policeman shirt. So he loves the policeman shirt. He's got one policeman shirt that he loves, and he doesn't like anything else sometimes. And in the morning, he'll wake up and maybe his policeman shirt's dirty, but he wants to wear it. And he can become inconsolable, right? And there's nothing you can do. Well, who I am is passion, inspiration, excellence, and curiosity. And I think to myself, so I could just react to that. Because, time goes, every parent knows, time goes by, you got to get stuff done. Your kids sometimes can be impossible. And so they push your buttons and you can react. And you're not always sure that the way you're reacting is helpful, and that's maybe not the way you want to raise your kids, and you recognize after. So the connection to who I am, I think to myself, okay, who I am is this. What should I be doing to exude who I am in this situation right now? And so the other day, it was pretty funny. I actually opened his drawer. I said, okay, well, let's test stuff. And he was just inconsolable, like he is sometimes. And I pulled out one shirt after the other. I'm like, what about this one? And I would tell him a story, and he'd say no, and I'd throw it over my shirt. And then we'd pull all the shirts out of the drawer, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't have any shirts left. And he would be laughing by the time that it was over. And then we would end up picking a shirt out together. And I'd get him to wear stuff he'd never wear because he just wants the policeman shirt. But that's just kind of like an example. And we could go into examples from work or from, my relationship with my wife or anything, because people are always pushing your buttons. And then the question is, where do you start so that you can do whatever there is to do to be consistent with who you are, rather than have the situation or the person kind of dictate who you're going to be and kind of control you.
Very interesting. So, how can our listeners find more information about you as an author, and about the book, and about the online course?
Yeah, so that's a good thing. So the book is for sale on Amazon. So it's called The Alignment Quotient, and you can find it under Christopher Ancona as the author. And I think I'm the only one writing anything about this. So it's kind of like the EQ IQ thing. And then there's the online course. And I think you have a link for the online course.
Yes, I do.
And yeah, so all your listeners can get a cool discount if they use that link. And in the course is really practical. So I walk people through the philosophy, but then it becomes very actionable. So you get to pick who you want to be, you get to work on it. I have some tools to help. So it's something that you're going to, by the end of the course, you're going to be implementing. You're going to be really instilling it in your life. And in the course also, the people meet me. We have kind of three online sessions where people get to ask questions, and I get to help them through whatever the challenges they're facing, so that they can, by the end of the course, they can really have this stuff down and really get it.
Perfect. So I will put the link below the video so everyone can have the discount and join the course, which I highly recommend. Thank you so much, Chris, to join us today.
Thank you,
It was a
Viviana.
pleasure, and good luck for all of your projects.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Have a
Bye.
great day.
You
Bye-bye.
too.